Everyone says, I don't have time to work out, or I don't have time to cook healthy meals. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You have the exact same 24 hours as everyone else. You just choose to spend them differently. The real question isn't whether you have time, it's whether you're being honest about your priorities. And I'm going to prove it to you with research that will change everything you believed about time management. Let's start with the most obvious problem, which is screen time. The average person spends up to 7 hours daily on screens, according to digital wellness studies. That's more than enough time you need to transform your life. I'll give you an example. You scroll social media for 20 minutes before work or school. That's your morning workout. You spend lunch browsing Instagram, which is time you could spend meal prepping. 3 hours in the evening of watching TV, that's time you could spend reading books and actually preparing for a good night's rest and sleep. The issue isn't time availability, it's time allocation. Another big problem is decision fatigue. Baumeister's original research showed people forced to resist cookies couldn't persist on later tasks. However, a massive 2016 study by Haggers with 2,141 people found no significant willpower depletion effect. What they found was decision fatigue is real, but it takes 4 to 5 hours of sustained mental effort. A PubMed study found that healthcare workers worked very long shifts made up to 25% more errors. So if you're trying to make healthy decisions at the end of a long work day, your brain is genuinely impaired. Let's move on to some things that actually work, that actually help us make better and healthier decisions. The BJ Fogg Behavior Model by Stanford shows behavior requires motivation, ability, and prompt simultaneously. The basic logic behind the model is reducing friction is more effective than increasing motivation, which actually makes complete sense if you really think about it. Because if the healthiest option is also the easiest option, you're much more likely to do it. And you need way less motivation to actually do the healthy option. There's two other things the model showed, which is that habit stacking works. Linking new habits to existing strong ones is the best way to build a new habit. If you're already going to the gym regularly, implementing a new habit, like drinking protein shakes, for example, is a lot easier if you just do it after the gym. The other thing the model also shows is that time blocking increases productivity by up to 40%. The next technique I want to tell you about is the if-then technique. A Goldwitzer's meta-analysis of 94 studies showed that this technique increases success by 65%. But how does this technique actually work? Instead of saying, I'll exercise more, you make the sentence a lot more specific. For example, you say, if it's 4 p.m., then I'll drive straight to the gym. That's a very practical example of the if-then technique. A ResearchGate publication found that using this technique increased exercise adherence from 29 to around 91%. The basic psychology behind this technique is that you pre-decide responses to certain situations and therefore eliminate decision fatigue. The next technique is more of a mindset shift. It's also mentioned in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Forming new habits is much easier if you use an identity-based approach versus a willpower-based approach. But what does this actually mean? Basically, you have to change the way you talk to yourself. Instead of saying, I want to lose weight, you say, I am a healthy person making healthy choices. What James Clear's research showed is that there's a 65 to 80% adherence rate versus a 30 to 45% rate for traditional goal setting. Your brain stops fighting when your behavior aligns with your identity. I've packaged all of these techniques and research findings into a program. If you want to stop making excuses and actually change something, you can check out the first link in the description. I've actually created this system for myself to change my life, and to make better choices. Remember, you have more time available than you think. The solution isn't more or better willpower, it's better systems.